What do Trump's legal troubles reveal about America today? In a country that prides itself on justice, fairness, and the rule of law, the legal entanglements of a former and now current president are nothing short of extraordinary. Donald Trump has faced multiple indictments across jurisdictions, from federal charges related to classified documents to state-level investigations into his business practices and election conduct. For his supporters, it's political persecution. But for his critics, it's long overdue accountability. But for everyone else, it's simply confusion and concern-causing. Many Americans are asking whether these proceedings are truly about justice, or whether they're driven by purely political motives. This question strikes at the core of our institutions and our trust in democracy. Can a fair trial be guaranteed when political careers, media ratings, and public polarization hang in the balance? This debate doesn't live in a vacuum. It plays out daily on Twitter, in newsrooms, and at kitchen tables. It influences how we vote, who we trust, and the kind of country we want to live in. With each development, the line between legal judgment and public perception becomes increasingly blurry. And yet, the great majority agree the law must be applied objectively, even to those in the highest office. If not, we risk saying that some are above accountability. But how do we ensure that the scales of justice remain balanced and aren't tipped by partisan agendas? As we unpack Trump's legal journey, this video explores that core question. Are we watching the pursuit of justice, or witnessing a stage play crafted for political gain? What are the charges Trump was actually facing in court? Trump had been indicted on numerous counts in various jurisdictions, including both federal and state cases. These charges span several areas, such as mishandling classified documents, obstruction of justice, interference with the 2020 election, and financial fraud. The scope is unprecedented, with multiple grand juries and special prosecutors involved. The classified documents case, for example, centered around Trump retaining sensitive national security material after his first term as president, something prosecutors have argued endangered our national interests. Meanwhile, the Georgia case accused Trump of trying to overturn the 2020 election by pressuring officials to find votes. Critics have argued that each case represented a pattern of disregard for law and democratic norms, while Trump supporters have contended that previous presidents were given leeway, and that this was simply selective enforcement designed to sink Trump politically. With so many cases converging before the 2024 election, it became hard to separate legal truth from political timing. The optics alone suggested a coordinated effort, but the facts needed to be weighed independently by the courts. Whether Trump was found guilty or not, the volume and timing of these cases were enough to make many Americans suspicious. When trials of this scale coincide with an election, the narrative writes itself, whether it's true or not. Were these prosecutions about getting real justice, or were they just about gaining greater political advantage? This is the most pressing concern for many Americans. Had the justice system been hijacked for political purposes? It's not unprecedented. Countries around the world have seen political opponents prosecuted to weaken their chances in elections, and afterwards. Trump and his allies have repeatedly framed these indictments as witch hunts and election interference. He raised millions on this narrative and gained momentum in Republican primaries. But legal scholars warned against dismissing evidence and procedures merely because the accused was powerful. Still, the timing of these cases, especially those delayed for years, raised eyebrows. Why the specific timing? Why so close to an election? Some argued that any delay looked suspicious, while others said legal systems were simply slow and careful. The credibility of America's institutions hinge on their perceived neutrality. If half the country saw the courts as mere extensions of political parties, trust in the system would erode, and that erosion would have lasting consequences. Ultimately, intent is hard to prove, but perception is powerful. And on this topic, perception split the country down the middle. Was the coverage truly informing the public, or was it simply trying to get the audience inflamed? The media plays a critical role in shaping the public's understanding of legal proceedings. But with Trump, the story has often become just a spectacle. Cable networks hype up arraignment footage like a sporting event, while pundits speculate endlessly. Left-leaning outlets tend to focus on the potential criminality, emphasizing legal interpretations and possible punishments. On the other side, right-leaning outlets highlight flaws in the prosecution and argue political motives. The result is an audience that picks a narrative while not necessarily knowing all the facts. Social media only adds fuel to the fire. Misinformation spreads rapidly, memes mock the seriousness of the charges, and influencers drive engagement by exaggerating claims. Truth gets buried under commentary and clicks. The press should hold power accountable, but since ratings dictate the media's coverage, the goal has shifted from informing the public to entertaining them. This undermines public trust and reduces complex issues to emotional headlines. This isn't new, but the stakes have never been higher. When public understanding of justice is distorted by ratings wars, democracy itself suffers. Is Trump benefiting from being on trial? Paradoxically, Trump's legal troubles only boosted his political momentum. He's painted himself as a martyr, persecuted by elites for standing with real Americans. His base has rallied more than ever, now seeing every charge as proof of his threat to the status quo. Fundraising numbers have surged after each indictment. His polling numbers didn't suffer. In fact, they improved among Republicans. This dynamic showcases how Trump flips adversity into political gold, by framing attacks as badges of honor. Meanwhile, some Democrats worry that too much focus on Trump's legal woes could overshadow broader issues, like inflation, healthcare, or global conflicts. Trump's becoming the central narrative again has energized his base more than suppressed it. There's also the possibility that Trump's trials might have created a fatigue effect, where voters eventually tired of the drama and longed for stability even if they once supported him. But no one knows yet where that tipping point lies. In many ways, these trials have increased Trump's support, and in that sense the courtroom has become just another Trump rally stage. How did these cases affect the race for the White House, if they had any effect at all? With multiple trials scheduled during the election cycle, Trump's legal calendar directly conflicted with campaign events. Imagine a former president attending court in the morning and then a campaign rally that night. The optics were surreal but real. Some voters may have sympathized with Trump, believing he'd been targeted unfairly, while others may have been turned off by the chaos. Independents especially watched closely, not just at what happened, but also at how it was handled. The Democratic strategy also hinged on outcomes. A conviction before the election could have significantly reshaped the race, but a dismissal or acquittal would have had the same effect. Each legal decision became a political variable. There was also the possibility that court delays could have pushed everything past the election. If Trump won, his control of the executive branch could have changed whether the cases were pursued or if they were dismissed. The election and the trials were intertwined, and that entanglement could have determined America's future for years to come. What precedent does this set for any future American leader? What happens to the credibility of American democracy when its justice system is seen as a political tool? Whether you support Trump or not, this question matters for the entire system as we move forward. Future presidents may hesitate to take decisive action for fear of post office prosecution. Or worse, they may normalize unethical behavior, betting that the other side will never prosecute. Either way, governance suffers. Moreover, public trust in law must remain intact. If trials are seen as fair and evidence-based, it reinforces democracy. But if they're viewed as being politically motivated, it undermines the entire judiciary. Other countries are watching. America has long promoted the rule of law abroad, but if it can't uphold it at home, its credibility as a global leader diminishes. Trump's trials aren't just about one man. They're a referendum on how the United States defines justice, now and for the generations that follow. Why does Trump's international trip matter during his legal battles? As legal battles play out at home, Trump's trip to the Middle East has added a new layer to the story. He's been visiting leaders in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, working to secure international alliances and economic discussions, even as his court cases loom. Some interpret this move as a flex of legitimacy, showcasing himself as a global statesman despite domestic issues. Supporters argue it's proof he's still presidential material, while critics suggest it's a distraction tactic designed to change the narrative. During the trip, Trump made remarks about America's role in energy independence, global security, and peace negotiations, setting himself up as a contrast to Biden's foreign policy. These speeches are now being replayed across social media. The media reaction has been mixed. Right-leaning commentators praise the trip's boldness, while liberal critics call it opportunistic. This division mirrors the broader conflict around Trump's current position in American politics. Ultimately, the trip won't erase his legal problems, but it may reshape public perception, particularly among undecided Americans watching from the sidelines. So, have we been watching justice unfold or political theater? Trump's trials are more than legal disputes. They're emotional lightning rods that strike at the heart of American identity. Every motion filed, every courtroom photo, and every televised reaction adds fuel to the nation's ideological fire. What you believe often depends on which channel you watch, which news you trust, and how you see the man himself. The stakes are enormous, not just for Trump, but for the judiciary, the media, the presidency, and the voter. How these trials are handled will influence the very legitimacy of future elections, and the credibility of the American legal system. It's easy to fall into partisan camps, but what this moment really demands is clarity, caution, and a commitment to truth, even when it's inconvenient. The way we handle justice in the spotlight sets the tone for how it's handled in the shadows. So, what's the verdict? That's still being written in courtrooms, in ballots, and in the hearts and minds of a divided public. Let's just hope we're writing a chapter our grandchildren can be proud of. Was this justice or was it just political theater? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell if you found this breakdown helpful, insightful, or thought-provoking. And share it with someone who still needs more information on the issues in our world today. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.